Hi, I'm Irving, and I have no life, just like you.
The Ballad of Irving. Irving. Big fat Irving. Big sport Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.
As I mentioned before, there are actually two games named Call of Duty 2. One came out for the Xbox 360, and it's just called Call of Duty 2. The other is for the PS2 and the original Xbox, and it's Call of Duty 2 The Big Red One. This is a spin-off of the regular Call of Duty 2. I'm not really sure how this came about, but there it is. Since Big Red 1 is a spin-off, we'll look at Call of Duty 2 first and give Big Red 1 its own review later on. Stay tuned. Call of Duty 2 for the 360 introduces some neat new features. The graphics, naturally, are much improved. The sound is spectacular as always. But the controls have been revamped to fit the 360's somewhat standardized layout. There are a lot more checkpoints, and you don't have to scrounge for health packs anymore. Your health regenerates when you take cover and don't get shot. The health meter is gone. Now you get redness around the edges of the screen as you take damage, and it goes away as your health returns. The friendly AI is a lot better than in the first game. I'll talk about that later. The enemy AI is much more realistic as well. It can still take several shots to bring one down, but it depends on where you hit him. A solid headshot will put him down in one blow. Shoot him in the foot or the shoulder, it's going to take a lot more. Sometimes you'll shoot a German and have him go down, but he'll continue to fire even though he's seriously wounded. We also have an initial training level. It takes place in Moscow and takes you through the controls. This is something that was sorely lacking in the first game, and it's done so creatively that it fits seamlessly into the overall game. You're doing the first mission, and it's easy to forget that you're in training. It's beautifully done. Most exciting for me, though, was the ability to unlock missions. What does that mean? Well, when I finished the second mission in Russia defending Stalingrad, I got a message saying I had unlocked the British mission. I went to the mission selection screen and discovered that the first British campaign against Rommel at El Alamein was available right alongside the next step in Stalingrad. So I can jump back and forth at will. Outstanding! Not only that, but when you select the mission that you've unlocked, you have the choice to pick a level of difficulty for it. So you can try different missions on different difficulties, mix and match as you please once you've unlocked a few things. It almost becomes a quasi-sandbox game. Not quite, but it's close. Because of that feature, I'm not going to cover all of the missions. Of course, in the end, the Allies win the war. Oh shoot, was that a spoiler? As the story opens, you're a young Russian soldier taking his basic training. You get a couple of weapons and learn to use them. Then it's on to grenade training.
Come over here and pick up a grenade.
These are potatoes, Comrade Commissar. Why are we using potatoes instead of real grenades?
Because real grenades are valuable. In fact, they are worth a lot more than you are.
I guess he never heard that an army travels on its stomach. Later in the day, I'll bet he's going to be looking for those potatoes in the pot to cook them in. We never actually find out. Anyway, as you're doing this, word comes that the Germans are coming for a huge attack. So you learn the rest of the controls while in the middle of pitched combat. This game, like the first one, features non-stop action. Attacks come from several different directions, and you can't always tell who's shooting at you. Fortunately, as I said, your friendly AI are a lot smarter than they were in the first game, and they'll actually watch your back, cover you, and help you accomplish objectives. Yeah, I know that's crazy talk, but it's true. They're very good. They're handy to have with you. That's one reason you don't want to do this. Oops. At least he didn't shoot back. I probably would have. Once you repel the German attack, it's on to the rest of the mission. Some missions are divided up like this, and each section usually starts with a page from the soldier's journal, like this one.
Today we have been ordered to reinforce positions north of Solitznaya Street. My unit has taken heavy losses since we arrived at Stalingrad in September. Many were killed during the crossing of the Volga River before they even had a chance to set foot in the city. I may have lost count of how many Germans I have killed so far, but I am certain it is not nearly enough. Private Vasily I. Koslov, 13th Guards Rifle Division.
I like that. It makes the character you're playing more real and gives you a reason to care about him. That's another thing that Call of Duty excels at, giving you a good basis to suspend disbelief. It can be hard to do in a video game, but these guys do it well. The second part of the mission means going after German headquarters. Getting there is your basic firefight, but once you're inside, you figure out why the mission is called Demolition. The remaining Germans have barricaded themselves on the upper floors, so your commissar has you do this.
Get these charges on the main support! Quickly! Get to a safe distance!
Time to run like hell!
It's about to blow! They cleared the building! Hurry, comrades! That's how you negotiate with fascist comrades!
Ooh, I like it muy macho.
You can see from the clips how much the graphics have improved from the first game. I still have a little trouble with the movement sticks, as you can also see, but I suspect a lot of that is me. I tend to have heavy thumbs. Your mileage may vary. The next mission is a little unusual because the primary objective isn't to take any ground or drive the enemy back. It's to repair a phone line. Of course, being a Call of Duty game, there's plenty of firefight action, but your main job is to track this wire and patch it in the 6 places where it's broken. Here's an example.
Germans! On the far side of the smashed wall! Over to the west! Kill him!
Here's my question. The Germans just might have some idea what this mile-long exposed wire is for, yes? So I'd think that as quick as you repair it, they'd be ripping it apart. Here's what the journal screen for this mission says. So we're supposed to believe that shrapnel from the shelling is the only thing that's damaged this phone line. Are the Germans really that thick? Well, they were following Hitler, so they couldn't have been too bright. But even so. Anyway, you make it to the other end of the phone and find out there's 3 Panzer tanks bearing down on you. Fortunately, you just happened to pick up 3 sticky bombs in the same room where you found the phone. Hey, it's playing fair. So you chase down and destroy 3 tanks along with a never-ending stream of German infantry. It's challenging even on the easiest mode, and it's fun. Remember how I said your AI are actually useful in this game? Here's a good example. Hey, where'd that come from? Thanks, fellas. See what I mean? They've got your back. It's a welcome change from the first game. That kind of steady improvement over the course of the series is one of the things that keep me coming back. So you do the usual stuff, fighting infantry, dodging grenades, putting a sticky bomb on a tank, and then it's on to the railroad yard. At the railroad yard, we encounter something new, yet another change and improvement from the first game. Yep, multiple objectives. And the game doesn't care what order you do them in, so you can play this level again and again and again because you have 4 difficulties and 3 objectives, and you can do them in any combination you feel like. You know something? There's a reason why Call of Duty is the standard to which all other well-made shooters aspire. No game about the Russian front is complete without a good-sized segment in Stalingrad, and this game has a good one. Here's the intro.
January 2nd, 1943. Surrounded on all sides by Soviet forces, the German Sixth Army at Stalingrad continues to crumble in the absence of a desperately needed supply line. Many German soldiers trapped in the city, who are now literally starving and running out of ammunition, continue to fight regardless, fearing that the Soviets will execute those who attempt to surrender. The fighting amongst the firebombed ruins of the city intensifies, as thousands of Soviet infantry continue to retake Stalingrad, one block at a time.
This is standard Call of Duty. What is the one thing that characterizes these games and sets them apart? The goal is to plant a bomb on that tank. But really, this is pure chaos. And it's intensely realistic. This is what a ground battle in that war was really like. It's almost impossible to tell what's going on, bullets flying everywhere, there's something you're trying to accomplish, but you have to go through hell to do it. But it still plays fair. The compass shows you where the enemies are, or at least what direction they are. You can pick up weapons if you're low on ammo. There's enough cover to keep you alive if you're smart, and it's total fun that shows a healthy respect for the people who fought this thing for real. We wound up in a Cold War with the Soviet Union for 50 years after this war was over. But you have to admire the sheer balls of these people who said, "Not one step back," and defended their homeland against brutal invaders, with everyone down to the last man, woman, and adolescent taking up arms to drive the Nazis out. There are no words. The rest of the Russian levels are pretty straightforward and great fun. Play them and enjoy them. Now we're off to be British.
Just be certain that you represent us correctly.
Talk funny and look like a complete jackass. Got it.
Oh, poppycock.
Really? That's news to me. I didn't realize they had...
Never mind!
Now we come to one of my main gripes about most of these games, and really most World War II games. We're headed to Egypt and the British stand at El Alamein, the battle that turned the tide of the war in Africa. Here's a short synopsis from the game itself.
1941. The Desert Fox, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, arrives in Libya to assume command of the Africa Corps. Within a few months, Rommel, the rising star of the German army, recaptures the territory taken by the British Commonwealth forces prior to his arrival. Despite being heavily outnumbered by the British forces, the superior range and armor of the German tanks allows the Africa Corps to take the fight to the Allies. By July of 1942, the Desert Fox and his unstoppable Africa Corps, in a series of classic blitzkrieg attacks, pushes the British forces eastward across the deserts of Libya and into Egypt. Now in late 1942, holding their ground a mere 60 miles from the Egyptian capital of Cairo, British Field Marshal Montgomery's forces, including the Desert Rats of the 7th Armored Division, prepare to blunt the German offensive and regain the initiative.
The success of this stand by the British is pretty well legendary in the history of war. And I want to give a message to game developers. It's been done to death! Yes, Stalingrad and El Alamein and D-Day are the major turning points of the war. But the war went on for 6 years, and there was a heck of a lot more to it than just those 3 events. How about showing us more of it? How about some of the day-to-day skirmishes as the Allies marched across Europe? How about putting us in the Battle of the Bulge? How about the fall of Berlin, letting us dynamite Hitler's bunker and find his body? or just rolling up a road, watching for attacks and dealing with them when they come. How about letting us play as a Londoner during the Blitz? Yes, playing in the big turning points is intense fun, and it really gives you a feel for the sacrifices that the greatest generation made for the cause of freedom. But show us the rest of it too. Please. The same goes for the war in the Pacific. Let's face it, America probably wouldn't have gotten into the war at all if it wasn't for Pearl Harbor. But so far, I've only seen 2 games out of all the World War II games out there that focus on the war against Japan. Come on, guys! Give us more of that part. Hell, stick me in the Enola Gay and show me what it felt like dropping the bomb that changed the world forever. There's so much material to work with, it should keep an army of developers busy for a long time. Use it. And while we're on the subject,
give it to me now.
Most of the British campaign is pretty straightforward. Constant action, going back and forth to defend places, then you head up to the roof of a building to call in artillery strikes on enemy tanks. That's interesting because you have to find them, and pretty much all you have is this. Where to the south? That's too specific. Be more vague. You know what I mean. Never mind. In the next segment, you have a sniper rifle, but you get precious few chances to use it, mainly because your buddies keep running into your line of fire. Twice I had to restart because, as the screen tells you, it doesn't matter that the guy I shot was some genius who ran right into my bullet stream. Thankfully, that doesn't happen constantly through the entire game the way it did in the first one. But having to restart because of friendly fire is something new and interesting. I like it. Having taken El Alamein and pushed Rommel out of Egypt, we move on to Libya. In Libya, you get to drive a tank. So, have the tank controls improved any since the previous game? A little, but not really. Actually, I found these segments a little bland because you just run and shoot. It gets a tad repetitive. They try to make it more interesting by having a lot of different terrain and all that, but it really doesn't work very well. Now the game gets confusing, because at the end of the tank sequence, I got this screen.
Congratulations, you have completed the British campaign.
So that means I'm going to be an American, right?
We've had little to do for the past few days, holding our positions in the town of Tujane and waiting for the rest of the division to catch up. For whatever reason, it looks as though the Jerry's packed up and left in a hurry, leaving behind working machine guns, some fuel, and ammunition. The situation must be getting quite desperate for them to abandon materiel like that. Sergeant John Davis, 7th Armored Division.
But Davis is one of the British guys, unless there's 2 characters named Davis. It's not an uncommon name, so let's see. Nope, still limey. I mean British. Okay, whatever. We're taking a town in Tunisia that has several flat guns in it. We don't actually have to destroy the guns, just take out the crews. Your friendly AI are really useful here because they can take out the enemy, watch your back, warn you about grenades. They're a pleasure to have with you, unlike what they were in the first game. Still, I managed to take out this gun crew single-handedly. That was gratifying. The last big battle in North Africa happens in Tunis. You fight through the town and take it from the Germans, then you get to handle a German anti-aircraft gun and take out some German bombers that are trying to strafe the town. Yes, I know. I am that good. Now we really are done with the British portion, and we move on to D-Day, where we storm the beaches at Normandy as an American Army corporal. It's been close to 70 years since these events, and sometimes it's hard for those of us who came after to grasp just what it was like. This is a good way to get a feel for it, because before your landing craft even hits the beach, guns take out several of your men. Then this happens. You saw another soldier carrying a wounded comrade, and within seconds they both went down. We know now that Eisenhower expected something like 85% casualties that day. In other words, of 100,000 men hitting the beaches, he expected 85,000 of them to die. I can't imagine what balls it took to give that order. Once you're on your feet again, you have to climb a rope to the top of the cliff. I also can't imagine what stones it took to keep climbing after you saw that, and this stuff is basically what happened. You do some missions once you're at the top, then the Germans counterattack and you have to hold them off. This level introduces us to something new, a timer.
Sarge, I got through! Boys at Omaha Beach are on the way! Over the channel! How long? About 5 minutes, sir! Superiority!
You have to hold off the Germans until air support arrives. But in keeping with the quality of the game, and really of the series, you don't just stand in one place and blast away for 5 minutes. Twice you're in danger of being overrun and have to fall back to another set of trenches. It's intense, it's chaotic, and it's great. If you hang on to the end of the 5 minutes, then just as you're about to be overrun by German tanks, you see this. Very nice, developers. Very nice. From there, you move on to a town where you have to clear out several buildings. Each one of those objectives is a building that you and your squad have to clear of Germans. It won't be easy because sometimes they're literally hiding behind the dresser. Once that's done, you climb to the top of this silo and watch for a counterattack. The counterattack comes, of course, but you're not concerned with the basic ground troops. You're now a sharpshooter with a scoped rifle, and your job is to take out mortar teams as they appear. Here's an example. Okay, I admit it. I showed that one because it was a twofer. I got both guys with one shot. Not easy to do. Now it's time to be British again and work on taking the town of Cannes. We start with the outlying village of However the hell you say it. Get on with the mission. Most of it's pretty basic. Clearing buildings, dodging machine guns, that sort of thing. One of the main objectives is to take out a couple of mortar teams, but this time you do it from the ground, up close and personal. You continue moving through the town until you have to go with one of the other guys to get a truck.
Ahem.
My mistake.
A lorry.
You're in the back while he's driving.
Damn this lorry! It's all messed up! Move, damn you!
At least that's what he calls it. Fortunately, there just happens to be a bazooka in the back of the truck.
I mean, lorry.
So you have the means to take it down.
Isn't that convenient?
You fight your way on through to the other side of town, and then you have to fight off 6 waves of German counterattack. The last 2 include a tank. And if you really want to see what makes the Call of Duty games famous, look no further. Holy cow. That's worth the price of admission right there. With that machine gun and its endless supply of ammo, so much that it never even needs reloading, holding them off isn't hard. Victory. At the end of the next mission, you get a message that you've completed the British campaign. Didn't we do that already? And then be British again? And then American and then British again? Later on, it's time to cross the Rhine into Germany proper. Well, hey, crossing a river should be easy, right? If you really think that, go back to sleep. This game is not for you. The main task is to take out several artillery positions. As you take out the last one, a couple of tanks come along, so you have to plant explosives on them and take them out. The first one is pretty easy, since it practically runs right over you. The second one, not so much.
Yes, sir!
Where is this damn thing? I keep going around and around and meeting more and more troops, and the stupid tank is nowhere to be found. Oh, there it is. Come here, you elusive little bugger.
There's subplots all over the place! Watch your back! Don't let your guard down!
The rest is mop-up. Then you assemble at the rally point.
Damn fine job, you guys. We took on the best troops Germany had to offer and sent them running for their mamas up and down the Rhine. I'm proud to serve with you men. You're all good rangers, that's for damn sure. Sergeant Randall, one more thing. I don't know about the gentleman part, but how'd you like to be an officer? I'm offering you a field commission as a lieutenant. Good leaders are hard to come by. What do you say?
Well, I'd be honored, sir. But the thing is, we'd be short a sergeant. Corporal Taylor here, he might be worth looking at.
I'll keep that in mind, Lieutenant. See to your men. Dismissed.
Aw, isn't that sweet? And totally unexpected. Uh-huh, sure. Shut up and roll the credits.
April 16, 1945. The Soviet Red Army commences its attack on Berlin, the capital city of Nazi Germany. 500,000 soldiers and civilians alike perish in a terrible battle that lasts for nearly 3 weeks. As the Allied forces converge on Berlin from both east and west, the Nazi leadership begins to crumble under the weight of imminent defeat. On the 8th of May, 1945, the German armed forces surrender unconditionally to the Allies. At a cost of 50 million deaths, the war in Europe is finally over. Throughout the Allied nations, Victory in Europe Day is officially celebrated, marking the defeat of Nazi Germany and the fall of the Third Reich.
You saw in my review of the first game that there were several problems, mainly relating to the friendly AI. I can honestly say Activision fixed that big time. The AI, Allied and German alike, are outstanding in this game. The graphics are top-notch, and so is the sound. With 4 difficulty modes to play, Call of Duty 2 can keep you busy for a long time. Or at least until you pick up Call of Duty 3. We'll check that out in the future, of course. For now, I'm Irving, and I have no life. Just like you.
Well, finally, Irving got 3 slugs in the belly. It was right outside the frontier deli. He was sitting there twirling his gun around, and Butterfingers Irving gunned himself down. Irving. Big fat Irving. Big dum-dum Irving. Big dum-dum dead Irving. The 142nd fastest gun in the West.